I used to fantasize about doing comedy, I didn't fantasize about that as much as I fantasized about being an inventor. And I actually really did try to invent something. I tried to create this product. Well, first I tried to create caffeinated cigarettes, where you take the caffeine and you put it into the filter of the cigarette. That was my big idea. Because I was like, it's addictive, kids will have it on the go, whatever. And that was my big idea. And for context, so my dad is a math professor and a vegetarian, and my mom is like a really good person. So I told my parents this idea, and just like the look of disappointment. They're like, you have an invention? Oh, we're so excited, honey. What is it? And I was like, okay. All right, cigarettes? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, I found a way to make them more addictive. Sad day for everybody at the house. So I shelved that, repented, and then I said, I'm gonna try to invent something though, And I would try to invent something called Stop the Scuff, which is like a clear plastic material that goes on your pants bottom, and it prevents them from scuffing. It's like a buffer between your pants and the ground. That was my idea. So I still really like that idea. And I tried so hard. I sent it to like a product prototype developer, but I did no research, and the person ended up being a scam. Don't find someone on Craigslist, I guess is my only advice, I guess. Yeah. Don't tell the guy you buy Adderall from you want to make a product and then have, But, so that was my idea. And that it didn't work out. I was so crushed. But I did get one thing from it. What it was for years, when people ask how you got into comedy, I said I tried to be an inventor, it didn't work out, so thought stand-up would be a safer bet. I don't know. Seemed more stable, And when you tell people what you tried to invent, sometimes they'll tell you their invention ideas. And I had a real moment. I had just been doing entertainment for a little bit. When you work in entertainment, you'll get a manager, and that person's supposed to see something in you that they want to help elevate. They want to bring you to another level. That's the idea. So I was with my first manager, and I was so excited. And he said, you try to invent something? Me too. And I was like, awesome. What'd you try to invent? And hand to God, he said, have you ever been eating an orange? I said, yeah, absolutely, many times. And he was like, have you ever wanted more of it? And I was like, sure, I've eaten 3 oranges at a time, many times. I've probably eaten 5 before, I don't know. And he goes, well, what if you could have more of the orange? What if you could have something called the morange, where it's more of the orange. It's like a bigger orange. And then he just kept explaining it, and like he was like waiting for a different reaction, because I was just like, oh my God, fuck. He's like, it's like a bigger orange. And where my mind was going, why he was going bigger orange, was I was like, okay, so the guy who believes in me also is trying to push the morange. So am I like the entertainer equivalent of the fucking morange? I'm screwed. Well, if you don't like Emma Willman, have you ever been trying to eat an orange and wanted more of it? I could try to sell you on that too. But I wanted so bad for this guy to be legit. I wanted so bad that I started even thinking the morange was a good idea. I remember telling my sister, she was like, how's it going with that new manager? And I was like, well, he's not just a manager, he's like kind of an innovator in some ways. He doesn't just do management, he's also, well, have you ever been eating an orange and you're like, I did the effort of the peeling. I wish there was more for my effort of peeling, so I'm like, I wanted more of the orange. And she's like, yeah, you get another orange. And I was like, well, what if you didn't have to? What if there was more of the orange? And she was like a big orange? I'm like, yeah, like a morange is what we'd call it. And she was like, okay, what are you getting at? And I was like, so that's his idea, though. Like, he came up with more orange. He came up with that. And she was like, you got to go to rehab, I think. You got to go to rehab. I know you've been sober for a couple years, but I think you just need to go right back to rehab for you, And I think it would have checked out. I don't think anyone in a rehab would have looked at me funny if we were going around in a semicircle explaining our bottoms. And I'm just there like, well, I had this manager and he wanted to create something called a morange, and I was like, that's a good idea. I think everyone in rehab would be like, oof, that's dark. Yeah, that's dark.